Alright gang, today I wanted to do a quick little creative tutorial for you. Let me show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a wooden rod stain that looks good for all your creative crafts. This one specifically is for my wife as she is doing some house decorations. And we're going to make that out of just a regular little dowel rod here. So let's jump into the video. Alright, so we have these two little dowel rods that I think my wife got from Hobby Lobby. And basically the methodology that I'm going to use is we're going to cut it in half. Then I'm going to sand it down, smooth down all the edges. Then on the very ends here, I'm going to burn them to make it look kind of cool. And then the last step is going to be to stain them. And so yeah, that's really about it. Alrighty, so for this project you'll need a few things. So I'm using a tape measure and a pencil to make sure I'm cutting them exactly in half. You'll need some way to cut it in half. So I'm using, this is actually a way to cut PVC pipe in half. But you can also use like a saw or something like that. So next is sanding. So I have some 60 grit, an 80 grit, and 120 grit sandpaper. Just a regular little lighter here for burning the ends. And then for staining, I'm using the Stain and Poly. It's American Walnut. I don't know if you can read that. And then lastly is just a brush to apply the stain with. Alright, so let's go ahead and cut this thing in half. So it measures at 36 inches. So I'm just going to mark off at 1.5 feet or 18 inches. And then I'm going to use my little cutter tool here and just slide it on in there. Find my mark. For sanding, the first thing I want to do is get this paint off the ends and also just smooth out the ends. After that, after they're smooth, I like to make kind of like an angle on there. It looks kind of cool when you burn it and you let you see more of the burn mark. So now we have kind of a cone shape. And again, so here I'm using the 60 grit, so it's going to be the grittiest and take off the most wood. Let me do that to the other side and then we'll move on to the 80. So in no way is it an exact science. The stain and the burn marks are really going to cover up a lot of your imperfections. But now I just want to smooth it out a little bit more before we move to the 120. Just go over this just a hair more. I think it looks pretty good to me. Alright, and the last thing I want to do with sanding is to use this 120 grit. This will create a little bit finer sanding. It also kind of clear off any of the coating that's on the stick, and it'll smooth off these edges on the end. I like doing this just to make sure that the stain will stick on there pretty well and that there's no like loose little fragments. So yeah, once we get this done, we'll be good to go. Alright, so now that we are done sanding, I went ahead and wiped off the excess sand dust with a cloth. And so now we're going to use a lighter to burn the ends. Alright, so yeah, we're just trying to make sure it's black all the way around, and it'll look really good once we get finished with the stain. Looks fairly good. Be sure to be careful putting your flame next to the stain. We don't want to burn anything down. Alrighty, so now that we have the ends burned, we can go ahead and start staining. And basically what you want to do for this is grab some stain, and then it's basically just like painting. I like to start at one end and then drag the stain as far over as I can until I don't have any more. And then I'll just get some more. Alrighty, well here is the final product. All nice and stained, cut, and looks pretty good. So yeah, now I've got 4 of these. Made them out of 2 dowel rods you can get from Hobby Lobby, Walmart, whatever. Alrighty, and there you have it. You have a nice stained dowel rod for all your creative needs.